Hey everybody, it's Pastor Mick here, and I've been listening to all of the commotion that's going on, the controversy that's going on with Kim Burrell, and then we got a few more comments from Shirley Caesar, and then Shirley Caesar and George Bloomer came on a show together on the George Bloomer show, basically so Shirley Caesar could retract her comments. In addition to all of that, of course, there's lots of conversations going on social media. We've got Kim Burrell being uninvited to the perform on the Ellen DeGeneres show. She was uninvited to um, uh, be, was she a co-host or in whatever way she was participating with BMI Records. She was uninvited to that, and various other things have happened. I think she has a show of some sort that was also pulled. And so everything is just being pulled because of the comments that were made in that, or that were shared in that short video clip, which people are saying she's talking about, she's homophobic, she's talking about homosexuals, and she is talking about um, the sexual acts that homosexuals perform on one another. She is doing that. Um, but if you listen to the clip, it's not as much about uh, hating. It's nothing in it is about hating homosexuals. She's more or less talking about the controversy with um, Eddie Long and how the controversy he had with the young guys who he was performing sexual acts on, which he's never admitted to. But I think if you follow that story at all, you know the evidence is pretty clear that this is what is going on. And then she's talking about how after that, after everything came out with Eddie Long, now he's gone through this grave sickness where he's lost all this weight and looks like he's at death's door. And he recently came back and to his church and said he was healed and he'd be back. But in a lot of ways, to me, he just looked very disoriented and whatnot. And you know, whatever God's going to do, He's going to do. Having said that, just giving you all the pieces to this puzzle. I'm not here to talk about uh, homosexuality per se, or Kim Burrell or any of them. I am here to talk about um, the other point that Kim Burrell was trying to make is that because we have allowed all this foolishness in the church, this is how we got to this point. That's really the point that Kim Burrell's trying to make, is because we have allowed so much. We preach holiness, but then we allow all of this stuff to happen. And then not only do we allow it, the leaders do it, protect it, promote it, maybe promote it secretly. They may not promote it over the pulpit. They preach against it oftentimes over the pulpit, or they just don't preach about it at all over the pulpit. Um, but then if you were to point blank ask them, most of them would say, yeah, homosexuality is a sin. It's an abomination. But they're doing it. They're participating in it. Um, most of us, our choirs are full of it. A lot of our gospel artists are homosexuals. So the problem, I would say, is the church, particularly the church that holds to conservative, fundamental views. Okay, I'm not talking about other churches who are more liberal. I'm talking about the ones that actually hold to conservative, fundamental views when it comes to what is moral and what is not moral, or what is sin and what is not sin. Most of us preach against uh, because we believe, and I'm a believer, we believe that the Bible is clear when it comes to fornication and adultery. Uh, and we believe that homosexuality um, is is a type of perversion. Okay, but some Christian churches, depending on how fundamental their belief is, also believe that let's say oral sex is a sin even within marriage. Okay, so there is all these interpretations on what is sin and what is not sin. But very few conservative, fundamental believers in the Bible will say that they believe homosexuality is not a sin. Okay, that's not my point that I'm trying to make. I'm just telling you what the belief is. The point that I do want to make is that if we look at the controversy in the church, we've got the Eddie Long and his situation, and then we've had various situations that have gone on. I'm not even going to name them all, but it's been a lot. In terms of sexual sins, sins of sexual nature. But we've got the Eddie Long, and then we've got Kim Burrell coming out making her statement, which she as a pastor was talking to the members of her church. It would seem to me, if she preaches holiness on a regular basis, that the people who choose to be a member of her church should already know that this is the belief system at that particular church. They should already know that. It's probably not her first time preaching against it. And I can't say that in most churches, I don't know if in most churches you're going to hear people outright preaching against homosexuality. It doesn't mean that the belief system that it is a sin isn't part of the church doctrine. Okay, but Kim Burrell was making comments really that pertain to Eddie Long and a spirit of perversion. That's really what her comments were about. Then Shirley Caesar was caught on video telling some people in the congregation, she was probably there to sing or something at a concert or something, but basically saying, if you're going to be a pastor and going to admonish your church about these things, which that is the role of a pastor, okay? People are saying don't judge. It is the role of a pastor. When you decide you're going to be a member of a particular church, the church should tell you what their doctrine is right up front. If you don't agree with that doctrine, that church is not for you. But if you decide to join the church, knowing and understanding this is our doctrine and this is our belief about things, you can't get upset when the pastor admonishes or preaches against it. She's not judging. She's trying to save your soul, according to our belief, okay? So anyway, Shirley Caesar was then caught on a video saying, and I think she was saying it more jokingly than anything, that as pastors, if we're going to admonish our members, we better start taking their cell phones first before we do it, because people are making these videos and whatnot. And then she went on to say that Kim Burrell should have said these things 4 years ago, before basically same-sex marriage became a law. That's what she said. And then she went on to say some other things, but the video cuts off. So we don't know what she was about to say, but she was beginning to say, we've all done wrong. We've all done wrong. So no telling what she said next. She probably at that point was saying, we've all sinned. We've all done wrong. So you can't count anybody. You can't judge it. No, I don't know if she's going to say judge. I have no idea what she's going to say, so I don't want to put words out there of something I don't know. But there definitely was a next part that was coming behind it that we don't know what it said. After that, then we see Kim Burrell Shirley Caesar giving basically a retraction on the George Bloomer show, and they both are sounding and looking pretty. Even their words are not words of defeat, but the sound and the shakiness in the voice and the look of uneasiness is like she had to come out and make this retraction. Otherwise, her livelihood is in danger. Okay? Her livelihood is in jeopardy. Kim Burrell, she's already been cut off by just in a matter of days, cut off from many things. Shirley Caesar's like, I can't take that chance. So she comes out with her stuff. George Bloomer, he's already been taken through the ringer. And so the two of them come together and they post this video on the George Bloomer show so that Shirley Caesar can kind of clean her name up, and hopefully from there will not lose whatever it is that she is what other royalties and whatnot she's getting. Now, the point that I want to make is there comes a time when, okay, in the church we've got gospel entertainers, and some of these gospel entertainers take on titles and roles as pastors and evangelists and whatnot. It's very difficult to be a gospel entertainer and carry a pastor or evangelist or a prophet or a prophetess role in the church, particularly in a conservative church, without blending lines. The entertainment industry, I don't care if they are singing gospel music. BMI Records is not a gospel music record. BMI Records is a record label. It's a record company. They carry all genres. They're not trying to help her hold up the gospel. They're trying to make revenues. That's what that's all about. Them making revenues. Now, they will use the gospel because they'll use people who sing the gospel, or not even singing the gospel, because the gospel is the good news in the word. Okay, because that's not what a lot of the singing is about. But they use people who sing and create music specifically for the Christian population, the Black church, and whatnot, and they call it gospel music, but it is not for the sake of the gospel. So when you take on these two roles, you take on these two leadership roles, you are a gospel entertainer, and you've got all of that pressure, you've got all of those people to influence, you've got all of that audience to please. You're basically, in a lot of ways, owned by the record companies. Okay, you've got all that going on. You've got people who are supporting you call it your ministry, but it's not your ministry. What they're supporting is your entertainment business. They are your fans. Okay, so you are a public figure as an entertainer who has to respond and answer to a diverse population, and you also have to make sure you don't upset the producers, the record labels, and all those people who keep your name on the top of the charts. You can't upset them, but at the same time, you've got this command as a pastor, as a leader in the church, as a leader, okay, in the church, in a conservative fundamental church that believes in holiness. You've got a command, a mandate to preach what we call the gospel, to preach biblical truths, which are conservative. What we read in the scriptures is conservative. It is very difficult to do those two things, to please the public and keep them happy, keep them satisfied with the words and the things that you do, and to do your command, to do your role as a church ministry leader. And how you're supposed to do that, that's right in the scriptures. What kind of lifestyle you're supposed to lead, what you're supposed to admonish members in the body of Christ about, that's in the scriptures. So either you're going to obey the scriptures or you're going to obey your fan club. And what we're seeing here, when you're talking about the line being drawn in the sand, I suppose you could say Kim Burrell is saying, I've got to do my pastoral role and place that as the priority. I can't say that I see at this moment Shirley Caesar and George Bloomer making that same stand. It seems like they're trying to play middle of the road, but it's only so long you can do that. And in fact, as a conservative believer, I would not put them middle of the road. I would say they've made their side, and it's not on a conservative biblical on the conservative biblical side, at least not publicly. They've come out with a statement that's something else. Now, people do what they do. People live the life they live. I love everybody. I'm connected with all kinds of people. People know who I am in terms of what my belief is about various things. But I can hold conversations with people about their lifestyles and their choices without imposing my views on them. Okay? So when we talk about this sensitivity and being diverse, I'm fine with it because I don't try to put my conservative belief on anyone else. It is mine for me. If you choose to follow my ministry, to come be under my pastoral care, if you come to me for counseling, premarital counseling, I'm by the book. I'm conservative by the book. And I tell you that up front. Tell you that up front. But if that's not what you want, I will help you find someone who's more liberal to give you the type of uh, uh, assistance and counsel that is more in line with what you believe. I don't do that because I think you're right. I do that because I'm not going to compromise my beliefs to make you, anyone else, comfortable. At the same time, I'm not going to push my belief on you to make you uncomfortable. But if you ask me, or if you invite me, or if you read anything that I write about, if you join in a conversation where you want to know my beliefs, I'm going to tell you what it is I believe. Um, I will. It is not my plan, and I pray that the Lord help me to forever stand true to this. I do not plan to ever put myself in a position where I cannot hold true to my conservative biblical values um, because I need to make some money, because I'm trying to be a certain public figure, or because I'm trying to hold down a certain job. I pray I never have uh, to take these words back. And I believe that as long as I have enough insight and foresight to look down the road at what could possibly happen if I take on this deal. Um, and sometimes you take on a deal and you just don't know, but at some point you got to say, wait a minute, whoa, this is farther than what I planned to go. I'm good. At the same time, pray about stuff before you get into it. Pray about stuff before you get into it. Um, I can't say that I believe most people go into the ministry just so they can make money and become famous and have a fan club. I think people generally start off with a genuine desire to want to help people, but even ministry is a tough place to be, and you're given lots of options and lots of opportunities that can send you in a direction that is not the one that you ever intended to be in. And sometimes you look around and you're there, you're in the middle of it, you're in the middle of some mess. That's what you're in the middle of. So I just wanted to share. that uh, this is the day. I can't even say this is the day and time we live in, because if you read ancient texts, all this was going on in Rome, in Corinth. All of this was going on, where people needed to make a choice and choose a side, and the conservative side of things has never ever been the easy side. It's never been the desired or the welcome side. It's always been a tough thing. Um, and that is just the way of the world. So, you know, so be it. But for me, I'm a conservative believer. And I pray I never have to get caught up um, in a situation where I have to choose between my livelihood and my biblical beliefs. But I believe this is where Shirley Caesar, George Bloomer, Eddie Long, and the like, this is where they are. This is the situation they've gotten themselves into. And I pray for them. I pray for Kim Burrell, that as she continues to stand in her beliefs, that the Lord will strengthen her for this journey and for this battle. All right, praying you all have a great day.